Welcome back to Bunny's Bites. Today we will be making stuffed bitter gourd. It's one of my favorite foods and a recipe that has been passed down in my family for generations. I learned this recipe from my amma. This is a traditional Indian recipe, and though there's many ways to make this stuffing, I think that the way I'm about to show you is the best way. In this video, I have used some fresh organic bitter gourds picked freshly from my garden. Bitter gourds have many medicinal values and can be good for weight loss. Here is the bitter gourd plant. At first I thought the bitter gourds hadn't grown this year because when I looked at the plant I couldn't find any. But soon I realized that they were there and they were just hiding amongst the leaves. They blend in easily in the leaves and can be hard to spot. This year I got a pretty good harvest. I'm only picking the really green big ones. To prepare the bitter gourds, first you need to wash them before cutting the stems at the top and bottom of the bitter gourd. This harvest I picked this time is about roughly 500 to 600 grams. Then make a slit in the middle of the bitter gourd. Don't cut from the top to the bottom, but leave a gap on both ends. We're trying to make a small opening in the bitter gourd, which is why we don't want to cut it fully. Fun fact, bitter gourd helps you to fight against dandruff and is good for diabetic people. Once you've finished cutting, we can now prepare the bitter gourds to be cooked. To prepare the bitter gourds for cooking, first sprinkle a handful of tamarind pulp on top of the cut bitter gourds once you finish cutting them up. Alternatively, you could squeeze a whole medium lemon's worth of lemon juice. It doesn't change the flavor, but it does kill the bitterness. Then sprinkle 1 teaspoon of Himalayan rock salt on top. Recently, I've been using Himalayan rock salt and I really like the flavor, but normal salt is alright as well. Finally, add 1 tablespoon of turmeric powder for a nice earthy flavor to go with the organicness of the bitter gourd. Take a pan filled with the bitter gourds and leave them to boil for about 7 to 10 minutes on medium flame. Leave them until they turn olive green. Whilst this is cooking, let's make the stuffing. Take 1 cup of peanuts and sprinkle 1 teaspoon of cumin seeds on top. Now add 1 teaspoon of that Himalayan rock salt I mentioned earlier. And 1 teaspoon of chili powder according to your spice tolerance. I'm adding in about 3 to 4 stems of curry leaves because I had a few lying around in my house and I thought it would taste really nice with the powder. But this is completely optional and you can skip this step if you want to. Finally, add 4 cloves of garlic. You need to blend this in the blender until you form a kind of coarse powder which still keeps the texture of the peanuts. Now that the bitter gourds have boiled, they've turned olive green, and that means that they've lost their rawness and we are ready to continue with the next step of the recipe. The bitter gourd smells so nice, and I can really smell the smell of the bitter gourds mixed with the turmeric. And I can also smell that the bitter gourds have now lost their bitterness thanks to the tamarind. You don't have to add any water to cook it because the juices from the tamarind paste should be enough. Now take your boiled bitter gourds and start scooping out the seeds with a spoon. Don't throw these seeds away. Keep them in a separate bowl so that they can be used later. Make sure to scoop gently. The bitter gourds look like little green purses waiting to be filled with money, or in this case, the peanut powder. Here is the bowl of seeds that we've scooped out, and make sure to put this aside in a bowl or container so that they can be used later. Now stuff the bitter gourd with generous spoonfuls of powder. And honestly, I think that stuffing this bitter gourd feels like feeding a little hungry baby bird. Write in the comments below if that's what you feel as well. Make sure to be generous with your spoonfuls, guys. The more powder you scoop in, the more flavor you'll get. Now for the final part of the preparation, tying up the bitter gourds. Tie up the bitter gourds with a string so that the stuffing doesn't come out when you're frying it. I'm using an organic cotton string, but almost any kind of cooking string or thread should be just fine. Wrap the string tightly around each bottle gourd. You don't need to tie it up, just make sure that it's wrapped tightly and it should be fine. One top tip is, when you're wrapping the string around the bitter gourds, make sure to pinch the two sides together because it'll make it a lot tighter and easier for you to tie the string around. There's no really one way to wrap it, just wrap it until you cover the bitter gourd completely and it's secure. Now it's time to fry them. Since we're deep frying, make sure to take a deep bottom pan and fill it up with just about enough oil to submerge the stuffed bitter gourds. Make sure to not crowd the bitter gourds in the pan and give them some breathing space. I don't know about you guys, but the smell of fried bitter gourds in the pan already makes me want to eat them. I can smell that peanut powder from the other end of the house, and honestly, it's making me feel so hungry. Guys, I'm just going to interrupt the video for a little bit to talk about these bitter gourd leaves. They're so unique and they have a kind of pattern that's like a leaf note case. They also smell really good as well. When you fry the bitter gourd until they're brownish black, you know that they're done. Wait for them to cool down before removing the string. As for the bitter gourd seeds from earlier, all you need to do is fry them after you fried all the bitter gourds and serve them alongside the bitter gourds. I assure you guys, these are really tasty. That's it, your bitter gourd fry is ready to eat with some fried bitter gourd seeds on the side. You can eat this with rice, bread or roti as a side dish or as a main meal. Yummy! Please like, share and subscribe to my YouTube channel Bunny's Bites and write any feedback in the comments below.